Welcome to Vision Cyber. I'm Stream.
And I'm Cypher. This week, page cache vulnerabilities are having a moment. Let's talk copy fail.
CVE-2026-43284 CVSS 7.8. This is a logic bug in the Linux kernel's authentication cryptographic template. The attack chains AFALG with splice to land a controlled 4-byte write directly into the page cache.
And the target? The in-memory representation of setuid binaries, specifically /usr/bin/su. You corrupt su in RAM, escalate to root, and the file on disk never changes. Your file integrity monitoring sees nothing.
The public exploit is a 732-byte Python script. That's it. It works across Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, RHEL, and SUSE. CISA has already added it to the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog.
This is a direct descendant of Dirty Pipe from 2022. Same fundamental idea. Abuse page cache semantics, where the kernel assumes a buffer is private, but the attacker has planted a reference they control.
The thing that makes copy fail particularly nasty is that it's deterministic. No race condition, no timing window. You run it, you get root.
And we're not done. Copy fail opened a door, and this week, the rest of the family walked through it. Stay tuned.
Dirty Frag, 2 new CVEs, 2026-43284 and 2026-43500. Published May 7th, actively exploited by May 8th. This is copy fail's bigger, meaner sibling.
2 distinct attack paths, both targeting the page cache. The ESP path uses ESP4 and ESP6 through XFRM security associations. It does in-place crypto operations on spliced pages and overwrites /usr/bin/su with a minimal root shell elf.
The RxRPC path is the fallback. It uses AF RxRPC with PCBC fcrypt to corrupt /etc/password. 12 bytes, 3 sequential 8-byte store operations. It clears root's password field. You type su-, no prompt, your root.
What's terrifying, and I mean technically elegant but terrifying, is that neither path requires a race condition. The exploit is deterministic. It uses unprivileged APIs. Add key, socket, splice, receive message. No user namespace creation needed for the RxRPC path.
Which is exactly why it works on hardened Ubuntu, where AppArmor blocks unprivileged user namespaces. The ESP path needs clone new user, but the RxRPC path sidesteps that entirely.
And here's the kicker. The exploit lives entirely in RAM. The page cache is contaminated until you either run drop caches or reboot. File hashing tools on disk will not detect this. Your IDS sees clean files while root is compromised.
As of May 8th, CVE 2026-43284 was patched in mainline Linux. CVE 2026-43500, no patch available. Microsoft Defender is actively monitoring exploitation in the wild. Qualys, Elastic, Microsoft, everyone published analysis within 48 hours.
If you run Linux in production, check your exposure now. Let's zoom out. We're not looking at isolated bugs anymore. This is a bug class.
Right. The pattern is always the same. A zero-copy send path plants an attacker-controlled page, or at least an attacker-readable page, into a kernel data structure as a raw reference. A downstream consumer assumes that buffer belongs to the kernel and performs an in-place write. The attacker controls where that write lands, in a page they were only supposed to have read access to.
Dirty Pipe was the first. It abused pipe buffer flags. Copy fail moved to the algv AEDA crypto template. Now Dirty Frag branches into networking, ESP and RxRPC. CopyFail 2 hits a second variant in the same algif AEDA area.
And critically, Dirty Frag does not depend on the algif AEAD module. So if your remediation strategy was just patch CopyFail, block algif AEAD, you're still exposed.
Elastic Security Labs published detection logic last week, and they made the right call. They're detecting on primitives and behavior, AFALG socket creation, splice to crypto file descriptors, unexpected setuid corruption, not matching a specific proof of concept.
That matters because there are already reimplementations in Python, Go, Rust, C, and a Metasploit module. Signature-based detection against one POC is already dead.
The broader takeaway for defenders: the page cache is now an established attack surface. Expect more variants. Build detection around the syscall patterns and the corruption behavior, not around individual CVEs.
And watch your drop caches. If you're doing incident response and you reboot before capturing volatile page cache state, you've just destroyed your forensic evidence.
The kernel memory is the crime scene now.
Shifting gears to Redmond. Microsoft dropped their May Patch Tuesday this week. 137 vulnerabilities across the ecosystem.
31 of those marked critical. But here's the good news: 0 actively exploited 0 days this month. After April's near record 167 fixes, May feels like a breather.
Rapid7 did the heavy lifting, identifying the more concerning critical weaknesses. If you're triaging, start with their analysis. The usual suspects are there: remote code execution in networking components, privilege escalation in Windows subsystems.
The broader narrative, though? Patch fatigue is real. When you're stacking 100+ CVEs every 30 days, security teams are making triage decisions that are really just bets on which bugs attackers will find first.
And in context, we just talked about Linux page cache bugs that went from disclosure to active exploitation in 24 hours. The window between patch and exploit is collapsing.
Which makes the next story particularly relevant. If the patch window is collapsing, should the deadline collapse too?
Let's talk about what CISA is considering.
CISA is reportedly considering cutting the patch deadline for known exploited vulnerabilities from 14 days down to 3.
3 days. That's a massive operational shift. Right now, under Binding Operational Directive 22-01, federal agencies get 14 days to patch any high-severity flaw that's under active exploitation and listed in the KEV catalog.
For critical vulns not yet exploited, BOD 1902 gives you 15 to 30 days depending on CVSS score. For 0 days with no patch available, emergency directives already require action within 24 to 72 hours.
The people driving this: Nick Anderson, acting CISA chief, and Sean Cairncross, the U.S. National Cyber Director. This isn't a thought exercise. Reuters confirmed active discussions.
And here's the data that makes the case. VulnCheck reported that 29% of KEV-level vulnerabilities in 2025 showed evidence of exploitation on or before the day the CVE was published. Not days after, the same day.
So the 14-day window was already generous. The real question is whether agencies, and by extension, the private sector that mirrors federal guidance, can actually execute a 3-day turnaround.
The reaction is mixed. Everyone agrees the threat velocity justifies speed. But 3 days to test, stage, and deploy a critical patch across enterprise infrastructure? That's not a patch cycle. That's an emergency response protocol running permanently.
If this goes through, it changes how organizations architect their update pipelines. You need automated deployment, pre-staged rollback, and blue-green infrastructure. Manual Patch Tuesday workflows are done.
The era of scheduled patching is over. Welcome to continuous remediation.
From vulns to threat actors, Cisco Talos dropped a major disclosure this week. UAT 8302, a China-Nexus Advanced Persistent Threat Group.
This one's been active since at least late 2024, targeting government entities in South America, and as of 2025, government agencies in Southeastern Europe. Talos assesses with high confidence this is a Chinese state-sponsored operation focused on long-term access and espionage.
The tooling is interesting. They deploy NetDraft, a .NET-based malware family, which ESET independently tracks as Nosy Door, attributed to a cluster they call Long-Nosed Goblin. The tool overlap connects UAT 8302 to multiple previously disclosed Chinese-speaking APT clusters.
That's the signature of a shared capability pipeline. Different operational groups, same toolsmiths. When you see NetDraft show up alongside tooling from other known China-Nexus actors, you're looking at a coordinated ecosystem, not a lone wolf.
The operational model is classic state-sponsored, long dwell times, valid credentials, operating inside the trust boundary. They're not tripping alarms because they look like authorized users performing authorized actions.
And that's why responding to a state-sponsored intrusion is fundamentally different from responding to ransomware. The adversary is more patient, more disciplined, and pursuing objectives, espionage, data extraction, that don't generate the noise that ransomware does.
Your IR playbook that's built around containment and recovery, it's not designed for this. You need continuous verification, segmented trust, and the assumption that valid credentials are potentially compromised.
Zero trust isn't a marketing term anymore. Against UAT 8302 and groups like it, it's the minimum viable architecture. Supply chain attack of the week, and this one is textbook. The official JDownloader website served malware to users between May 6th and May 7th.
JDownloader, free open-source download manager used by millions on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. The kind of tool people trust implicitly because they've been using it for years.
The attackers compromised the site and replaced the Windows alternative installer and the Linux shell installer with Trojanized versions. The payload was a Python-based remote access Trojan, a rat that gives full remote control over the infected system.
So, you go to the official domain, download what looks like a legitimate update, and you've just handed an attacker persistent remote access. The Windows installer dropped the rat directly. The Linux installer did the same.
Mac OS wasn't targeted in this campaign, but the message is clear. The supply chain is the attack surface. When your download source is the threat vector, signature verification and hash checking become your only line of defense.
And how many users actually verify hashes on a download manager update? Realistically, almost none.
This is why reproducible builds, code signing, and independent download mirrors matter. The JDownloader compromise lasted roughly 24 hours, May 6th to 7th, but in that window, every Windows and Linux download was hostile.
If you downloaded JDownloader in that window, assume compromise. Scan for Python-based rat persistence, check for unauthorized outbound connections, and rotate credentials on the affected system.
Trust is not a permanent state. Verify continuously.
Now for something that's equal parts fascinating and terrifying. Anthropic's Claude Mythos Preview, an AI model that autonomously discovers zero-day vulnerabilities.
During testing, Mythos identified thousands of 0 days across every major operating system and every major web browser. Bugs that survived decades of human review and millions of automated fuzzing runs. The model found them.
Anthropic responded by launching Project Glasswing, $100 million in usage credits directed at defenders to help secure critical infrastructure before similar capabilities proliferate.
But proliferation is already in motion. Unauthorized access to Mythos was reported on the same day Anthropic announced the limited release. Chinese entities have sought access and been denied so far. But the Stanford AI Index 2026 puts the US-China AI gap at just 2.7 percentage points.
India is also responding. CERT-In, Airtel, Vodafone, all reviewing their cyber risk posture in light of what Mythos represents. This isn't a theoretical capability, it's a demonstrated one.
And this is the dual-use dilemma at its sharpest. The same model that can help defenders find and patch vulnerabilities before attackers exploit them, that same model, in adversarial hands, becomes the most effective vulnerability discovery engine ever built.
The question isn't whether AI-driven vulnerability discovery will change the game. It already has. The question is who gets access first, defenders or attackers?
Right now, Anthropic is trying to give defenders a head start. Whether that head start holds is the open question of the year. From AI as a weapon to AI as an unmanaged liability, SentinelOne dropped their 2026 AI and Cloud Secrets report this week, and the numbers are stark.
AI-related secrets, API keys for OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, and similar services increased 140% in 1 year. 88% of organizations now use AI in at least one business function, and the credential sprawl is outpacing every secrets management framework in place.
This is shadow AI at scale. Developers and internal teams spinning up LLM integrations without IT approval, reusing the same API keys across code repositories, SaaS configurations, and development scripts. No access controls, no rotation schedules.
And the risk profile is different from traditional credential compromise. A stolen cloud credential lets you manipulate resources. A stolen LLM API key gives you visibility into every system that LLM touches. CRM platforms, ticketing systems, analytics tools, customer data.
Think about it. One API key, and you're reading the AI's context window across the entire organization. That's not a resource compromise. That's an intelligence operation.
The report calls out the need for centralized governance over AI key issuance. But the reality is, most organizations don't even know how many AI keys are in circulation, let alone who issued them or what they have access to.
Shadow AI is the new shadow IT, except the blast radius is larger because the AI sits at the intersection of every data system it's been integrated with.
If you're running a security program and you haven't audited your AI credential surface, this is your wake-up call. The keys are already out there. Last segment, let's bring it back to the human layer. The UK government's cybersecurity breaches survey for 2025-2026 is out, and it confirms what everyone suspected.
46% of small businesses and 65% of medium-sized businesses in the UK experienced at least one cyber breach or attack in the past year. Proton's separate 2026 SMB report puts it at nearly 1 in 4 SMBs hit by a cyber attack.
And the primary vector? Weak credentials. It's still weak credentials. Too many passwords, too many systems, too many people reusing the same strings across personal and professional accounts.
The UK's Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill is now putting new scrutiny on managed service providers, MSPs, and their role in the supply chain. For the first time, MSPs are being treated as critical links in the security posture of their clients.
Which makes sense. When a single MSP gets compromised, every client they manage inherits that compromise. It's the J-Downloader story at organizational scale. Trusted intermediaries becoming attack vectors.
The bill is forcing MSPs to reassess their position and responsibilities. But beyond regulation, the fundamental problem is password fatigue. When teams are expected to manage hundreds of credentials manually, bad habits proliferate: reuse, insecure storage, susceptibility to phishing.
The tooling exists. Password managers, passkeys, hardware tokens. The adoption doesn't. And until organizations treat credential hygiene as infrastructure rather than training, this survey will keep returning the same numbers.
That's the show for this week. Page cache bugs tearing through Linux, Microsoft dropping 100+ patches, CISA rethinking timelines, nation-states operating inside trust boundaries, supply chains weaponized, AI finding 0 days, shadow credentials sprawling, and small businesses still getting breached by weak passwords.
It's all connected. Stay patched. Stay paranoid. We'll see you next week on Vision Cyber.
Stay sharp.